everyone, and welcome back. Heather Stamper here. Welcome back to the channel. And today is a book talk day. I know it's been like forever since I did the YOLO book flood. And so this is going to be the beginning of a series of once a month book reviews for my Popsugar Reading Challenge. If you're not familiar with Popsugar Reading Challenge, you want to go to just type in Google Popsugar Reading Challenge 2022, and it gives you a whole list of categories. It's kind of like a fun scavenger hunt for me. Some people treat it like a competition with others. I don't do that. My competition is with myself. I always want to try and read or listen to 5 more books than I did the year before. So that's my personal goal. Any reading is good reading, okay? Any audiobooks are good audiobooks. Graphic novels, manga, webtoons. It counts. It's all reading, okay? And especially if you enjoy it. What's neat about the Popsugar Reading Challenge is that it gives you an opportunity to kind of broaden your horizons. Maybe it has you pick up a type of book that you wouldn't have picked up before. So I'm going to share the first 8. I got 8 of them done for January. Yes, some of them were audiobooks. Some of them were ebooks, and that's all right. And I am working on regular print books as well. Shocking. So let's get this started. Now, the first category I tackled was one of the weirder ones, in my opinion, is about pick 2 books that take place in sister cities, like kind of like Minneapolis, St. Paul. And so I was like, oh, I don't know what that would be. So I looked it up. I Googled it, books that take place in sister cities. And I learned a thing. Vancouver and San Diego are considered sister cities. I thought sister cities would have to be close together, like Minneapolis, St. Paul. But no, it can be further away. The first one I read was called 5 Little Indians by Michelle Good. It takes place in the Vancouver, British Columbia area. I gave this one 4 bookmarks. It is a realistic historical fiction of 5 Indigenous children who grow into adults who survived the Indian schools in Canada in the mid-20th century. So very timely when you hear about the things on the news about what's been going on, what they've been discovering at some of these schools in the United States and in Canada. The effects for those that survive and make it out of those schools are pretty devastating. I mean, some of the characters die of substance abuse. A couple of them struggled to get their GEDs and try and make a career. It's like, but still facing the troubles of an ethnic minority trying to make it in a white person's world in the 70s. Yeah, tough. It's hard. It's still hard. What happens when they become parents and they want to try and protect their kids from having to go through what they went through? Again, very stressful with limited means, limited income, limited opportunities. How do you go about doing that? Some who became activists and helping the Indigenous community to help others who have survived and maybe facing struggles. I found it very fascinating, very sad at parts. It was a heavy read. It wasn't a long book, but it was a heavy read, but really good. So 4 bookmarks there. It was a good way to start out the year. The San Diego book I read was called The House of Broken Angels. It was good. I'm giving it 3 bookmarks. It would be higher, but some of the topics kind of hit close to home and things that I've been dealing with personally that I was just like, I don't know if I can handle this right now, but I made it through. You could even probably say more like 3.5 bookmarks. We'll up it there. So it's a story of 2 guys named Angel. There's Big Angel and there's Little Angel. They are half brothers. Big Angel is the older brother. The story basically takes place around his last birthday. He is dying of cancer. He's at end stage levels, and he knows that this will probably be his last birthday. So they are doing a big shindig, bring all the family together, things like that there. Doesn't help the fact that his mother passed away like the day before. So I was like, well, we still got to do this party because we're not bringing everybody back here. A little awkward much. Now, little Angel, the father that they share is Mexican, and the little Angel's mother is white. And so he always felt kind of an outsider when the family gets together. I mean, he could speak Spanish just fine, but, you know, he didn't have those shared experiences. And just how he deals with being caught between two worlds when he's dealing with his family. So you can kind of think of it as Parenthood meets This Is Us. For those of you that like those series, then yay, me. And it's just like some of the family drama hit kind of close. So I'm just like, I was tired after reading the book. Not saying that it wasn't good. It was good. It just, now is not the best time to read that one. Timing can be important sometimes. The next book I read was called Wilder Girls by Rory Power. So this is a YA, and wow, this is a very interesting book and quite timely, to be honest. I gave this one 4 bookmarks, and this one has 3 characters, Hetty, Byatt, and Reese. They live at a girls' school on an island off the coast of Maine. And for the last year and a half, the island's been under quarantine because of a strange disease called the tox, as in toxin or toxic. Does this sound familiar to anybody? The way the tox works is it affects all plant and animal life and human life. When it comes to human populations, it kills postmenopausal women. Great. And causes men to lose their ever-loving minds and basically become absorbed into nature. You know, it's like basically first they go crazy, then they become literally one with the trees. Quite icky. When it comes to the teenage students, once the girls hit puberty, of course it's puberty, they live through it, but they develop some strange mutations. These young adults and teenagers, so like the younger teachers, they go through this process as well. They get these animalistic mutations. Reese's hand is covered with silver scales. Byatt has a spiny plate like a stegosaurus, which is extremely painful. And Hetty lost her eye and it's sealed up, but she can feel something moving in there. We never find out what that is. When Byatt disappears, Hetty risks everything to break quarantine and all the rules that were designed to keep them safe, and to find her and to get answers to what on earth is going on, what started the talks, how are we supposed to make it through all this, what are we going to do? And these questions aren't necessarily answered. So if you're looking for a concrete resolution, you may want to pick a different book. But, you know, I'm okay with ambiguous endings because, you know, the reader can make up their own mind. So that's all good. So yeah, very interesting. 4 bookmarks. The next one I read was American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson. In 1986, an intelligence agent named Marie Mitchell gets attacked, forcing her to go on the run and be separated from her twin sons. In the series of letters that she writes to her children, the author unfolds the tale of how Marie got into intelligence, like think CIA and FBI and things like that, and her assignment to get close to the then president of Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara. He's a revolutionary and he has communist leanings. So, you know, certain agencies kind of want to take a look at that. There's dealings with racism and sexism because she's a woman, she's African American, she's trying to break into this business. And, you know, she feels kind of odd that, you know, they chose her for this because, one, she can speak French. Burkina Faso, they speak French as well as African languages. Also, to get close to Sankara, you know, she's kind of, she's a cute African American woman. You know, it's like she would be his type. So that's kind of ick. Again, there's no concrete resolutions to that one, and it is based on actual events about Thomas Sankara and the tension that was going on in Burkina Faso as it was becoming its own nation. So interesting stuff. I give this one 4 bookmarks because very fascinating. Not one I probably would have picked up if it wasn't for a prompt like this. This book is called The Terrorist by Caroline B. Cooney. I give this one 2 bookmarks, and I'll tell you why. One, it was written in 1999. So this was pre 9/11. It didn't age well, my opinion. The premise is when Laura's little brother, the Americans living in London, gets killed in a subway bombing, she becomes obsessed with finding the terrorist responsible. Now, Laura goes to an international school, and she is like profiling everybody around her. Is like, was it you? Because she was firmly convinced that it had to be someone from the school. Logic doesn't quite line up there. And some of the turns and twists that it goes, it's kind of cringe when you think, oh, gee, knowing what we know now in the 21st century, yeah, this one was hard. This one was hard to get through. I was kind of glad to be done. Now, Caroline B. Cooney is a very good author. She wrote the Face on the Milk Carton series, okay, if you're familiar with those. She's very good. It's just this one kind of falls a little flat because of the way it aged. And sometimes that happens. But that being said, 2 bookmarks. Fable and Namesakens by Adrienne Young. I give this 3 bookmarks. If you're looking for high seas YA adventure, then this is the book duology for you. Fable, that's her name, is a dredger, one who dredges the ocean in search of treasure. She was abandoned on an island by her father, whose name is Saint, that's his code name, after her mother died. And it takes her 4 years to earn enough money to buy passage back to her home on this ship called the Marigold. Marigold has been the one that's been dealing with her and paying her for what she finds during the 4 years that she had been stuck on this island and with a bunch of roughneck people. I mean, she goes from 12 to 16 on this island. It's kind of rough. The crew of the Marigold is a ragtag bunch of found family, that you typically would find in the YA section. And, just like that Fable could really easily fit in. The captain is pretty cute and, romance and having sisters and brothers that she never had, and she would fulfill a purpose for them as a dredger and as a gem mage. A gem mage is someone who can easily identify gemstones and, almost like hear them when they're like hunting for them, and they get kind of like a resonance. That's the explanation for gem mages didn't really go in too deep. I was actually kind of intrigued and was like, could we get some more on that? But before she can find her happily ever after on the Marigold, she needs to find her father and get him to explain a thing or two, because there's a lot to unpack there. Why was she left there? How is she going to, continue her life? What did happen to her mother? And why did she even stay with her father in the first place? Because her father's a very complex man. 3 bookmarks. It has all the traditional YA tropes of the romance and adventure and stuff. And then the characters are very well fleshed out. The reason why 3 bookmarks instead of 4 or even 5 is because the second book, Namesake, is, my opinion, a little bit weaker, because there's a secret to discover, and it doesn't take too much thought to figure out where to find the secret. Okay. I think probably by about the halfway point of the second book, I was like, it's going to be here. But I had to slog through the other half of the book before the characters finally realized where they were supposed to look. So that kind of grated on me a bit. If I was reading this as a teenager, I would be surprised as all get out. Oh my gosh, it was here all along. But no. So I decided to read Tiger Eyes by Judy Blume. Now, Judy Blume has been on and off of the challenge book list for a while. Her books are genuinely very good. I mean, I remember Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing and Super Fudge and all that stuff. Those were the ones I grew up with. And so I really didn't get into her YA stuff until I'm this many years old. Tiger Eyes, I gave 4 bookmarks because it is very well done. Davy girl is a high schooler coping with her father being killed in a holdup at the family store. That's really devastating stuff. The rest of the family, her mom and her brother, go and move in with some relatives in a house in New Mexico to kind of grieve and recoup and figure out what they're going to do with themselves. When Davy starts hiking around in the canyon, she meets this college guy named Wolf, who understands her pain and rage and dealing with the loss of things. She's going through something similar. And with his help, Davy is able to resume her life. Now, here's what I really like about this book. There's a couple of things. One, it deals with grief in a very real way. You know, mom goes through a very severe depression mode for a while, and how that impacts the children and how the relatives are trying to make up for that. You know, it's like the anger, the denial, the, regrets, all of the things. Very well spotted there. The other thing I like is that Wolf and Davy, who is at most 16 years old, do not get together at the end of the book. If you're thinking romance, it just doesn't happen. And I applaud that. You don't have to have a romance in a YA book. I'm going to say it again a little louder for the people in the back. You do not need a romance to be a YA book. So I really thought it was good. Anybody who's going through that grieving process or trying to rebuild from something like that, this would be a very therapeutic book, in my opinion. But you got to be ready for it because it does deal with all of those things. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Okay, I give this one 3 bookmarks. I'll get to the reason in a minute, but let me tell you about this one. It does start off very interestingly. Cadence Sinclair has a lot of problems, and some of them are first world problems. She comes from a very outwardly perfect family that goes to a private island every summer. First world problem. She has 2 beautiful cousins that she hangs out with, and they bring this one friend who is of a different ethnicity named Tag, and she falls in love with him. But the family doesn't approve because, he's not Sinclair caliber. Again, first world problem. Cadence has a traumatic brain injury after an accident on the summer of her 15th year. She has debilitating migraines and can't remember what happened the night of the accident. She hasn't been allowed on the island, and she hasn't heard from her cousins or her boyfriend. And so it's coming about to how she figures out what happened and how she comes to cope with the memories and how to move on with her life, even though she has all of these issues. Now, 3 bookmarks, because again, if I was reading this as a teenager, it would probably be a 5 bookmark because I would have been surprised as all get out. Oh my gosh, it was this all along. No way. But as an adult, about halfway through the book, I'm like, I think I know what happened to the cousins and to the boyfriend and what happened and why some of these things are happening to her and why she's not remembering things. But that being said, I still give it 3 bookmarks because the characters are, for the most part, engaging. Dealing with something as awful as traumatic brain injury, that's not something you see too much of in a YA book. So kudos there. Just, some of the tropiness made it a little predictable after a point. So if you recognize patterns in YA books, you'll know. I'm just going to put it there. But yeah, so those are the books that I read/listened to over the course of January. So I'll be back with another book talk at the end of February or beginning of March to talk about the February books. So if you like these type of videos, please click like, subscribe, ding-a-ling the notification bell, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.